Have you ever Hello, everybody. Welcome to tonight's episode of Unlimited, where we bring to you guests that are living unlimited life. They've already understood the principles of the universe, and they're creating incredible realities that are contagious, they're inspiring, and they have a lot to teach us, these people. So I'm really excited tonight to bring up Jesselynn Desmond, who is a good friend of mine here in Sedona. She's also leading the Intuition Accelerator this season, in season 3 in LightNet. And she's an author of an incredible new book called The Path of Least Resistance, and she's going to talk about that. She also has an incredible coaching program that really pulls people into this knowing. And we're going to talk a lot tonight about connecting with our higher self and why that is so magical and so important. She's also going to be doing a really cool breath technique. And I always tell this story about Jesselynn because I remember, Jesselynn, you had a musician over at your house one time, and you were like, Sanka, come over. We're doing a filming and I'm doing a breathwork thing. You can come over and check it out. And we sat in your house, and I was under a like huge triangle pyramid, you know what I mean, that was amplifying everything. And you guys were doing instruments all over us, and we were doing breathwork. And it was a profound experience. Like, we have no idea the technology that is right here within reach, whether it's tapping or breathwork. I mean, I was crying. There was another girl crying. I felt like I was like floating. I mean, I felt like I walked out of your house a totally new person. So I'm really excited. And I know you're going to do an in-depth workshop on the 23rd with our members, but I'm excited to kind of dip our toes in tonight. So you are an extraordinary person. You're incredible at everything you do. And the final thing I'll say about you is that what I most love about you is your voracious appetite for discovery and knowledge. Like, you're running toward you're a trailblazer in every sense of the word. And I remember in the light language class, you never done light language, and you were like the best in the class within like 45 minutes. And I was like, oh, because you're so free, like your spirit is free and you're joyful and you're fun. And I think that that's one of your gifts to the world, is like showing us what it looks like to be free and to be fun. So welcome tonight. I want to ask you, like, what does it mean, the path of least resistance? It sounds really fun, but I get there.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because, you know, as you were describing me, I was feeling like, oh, wow, that's totally you as well. You have a voracious appetite for knowledge and information as well. And I think that's why we are very simpatico in that way. I am so passionate about life and growth and humanity. And, you know, Bruce Lipton finally proved to the whole science world that your mind can actually change matter. And, you know, instead of what the old hippies or yogis or people who've been doing this stuff for thousands of years didn't get any credit because science didn't prove it. But now, thanks to Bruce Lipton, he's showing that. And so the path of least resistance is the path that nature always takes. So if you look at anything in nature, rivers or lightning and things like that, nature always takes the path of least resistance. And so we are nature. Ultimately, we are nature. And the only thing that really separates us from nature is our ego. So if we are experiencing resistance, it's because we are in our ego. And so that's why I wrote this book, is to help people be free of their ego. And ultimately, your ego isn't bad. It's just a matter of, it's the oldest part of our brain, so it's the least evolved. And so it's important for us to have practices in our lives to be able to discern what is coming from our archaic brain, or what is coming from our programming, or what is coming from what our mom or dad used to do, or what is coming from our environment, as opposed to what we want. what we want to happen, what we want to do. And that ultimately, when we're following our heart, and there is a reason why they say, oh, follow your heart and you'll be fine. And now science has finally proven that the heart has a larger, stronger electromagnetic field than the brain does. So anything that you want from a pure heart, you can get. In fact, you can't want anything from a pure heart that you can't get. And so that's why I wrote this book, is to give you tips and tricks on how to do this. And I go through the 3 systems, and the 3 systems are the 3 parts of self. Like, who are you, right? Well, we're spirit, body, and mind. We're all 3 things. And so when we act as if any of those 3 things aren't all connected, that's when we get dis-ease. And so I break the book down through all of those different systems, I'll call it, and help people get back into the flow of their own nature. So the course that I'm going to be doing on the 23rd is going to be taking you through a full protocol of one of the protocols that I do to be able to release resistance from your body on a physical, on a cellular level. And tonight I'm going to give you a little teaser. It's not going to be the same exact breath, but I am going to give you another tool that you can use. So if you do experience stress, especially on the daily, or if you happen to experience anxiety or depression, this is something that you can do for 10 minutes a day, and it will change your life. It'll change your biology.
Wow, that's so fascinating. I love that you have this science mind, and I love that you've identified Bruce Lipton, and how that we can really rest assured that this stuff is actually, it's the science and the mystics. The mystics has always been trying to tell us that this is how it works, but we weren't exactly sure without that masculine checking, because I'm like that too. I'm like, where's the data? Like, is this repeatable? So this is really cool. And we also know that this seemed absolutely ridiculous to me to think that breathing in a different way could do anything for me. Like, I just, like I said, I walked out of your house going, what just happened? Like, that's crazy that I have access to this all the time. So let's just dive into that part, and then we're going to continue the interview. We're also going to be doing breakout groups. Now, we do this every 3rd Saturday for free. If you go to lightnet.org/connection, you can join, and we do breakout groups of 3 to talk to each other and to get you guys connected. We'll do that tonight again. So if you're watching on New Realities, Portal to Ascension, CAN TV, you always guys want to go to lightnet.org/hangout and just get into the Zoom room right now. So if you're watching, get into the Zoom room, because in a little bit, we're going to put you guys in groups if you choose to do that. If not, you can stay. We're going to ask Jesselynn lots of questions and things like that. So, all right, let's actually dive in. Then we're going to go back to some of the principles you talk about. We're going to talk about light language. We're going to talk about all sorts of cool stuff tonight, but let's go ahead and get our bodies feeling good and interesting.
Beautiful. So inside of our little tiny sponges that we call brains, we have this little tiny thing called the pineal gland, and it affects basically our whole experience of reality. And ultimately, it is an antenna. It's a sender and a receiver, and it has little tiny crystals on it. And when we activate our pineal gland, it can produce different chemicals in our brain, melatonin, DMT, the list goes on. So this practice that I am going to teach you guys, you can do this for 10 minutes a day. If you did it for 20 minutes a day, you'd be even more styling. And basically what it's going to do is it's going to push your spinal fluid from your tailbone all the way up your spine into your pineal gland. And it's going to keep putting pressure on there. And with the other activities, we're going to be doing different things like squeezing your Kegels, which is squeezing your root locks. So that's your lower dantian. So it's all your sex organs, as well as your, like, squeezing every muscle from your belly button below. And you're going to squeeze it. And as we're inhaling, we're going to bring it up. And then once you bring the breath up past your heart, you're going to squeeze your stomach and push your stomach in, so it puts even more pressure on that little pineal gland. And then we will be doing a little bit of a breath hold. And as we release the breath, then we can start relaxing, 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 relaxing. And then at the bottom of our breath, we're going to do another breath hold. So our breath is going to be broken up into 4 segments, and they call it box breaths. So it could be a different number, but we're going to work with the number 7. 7 is a very powerful number, and it is the number, and this breath is very powerful. It's Egyptian, and everything in this existence is controlled by the number 7, where everything in here is light and sound. That's what we experience, light and sound. And there's 7 notes before it goes to the next octave. There's 7 rays of light, and then it goes to the next octave as well. So everything is controlled by the number 7. So we're going to work with this number 7. This breath is called Abhu breath. It's AB-HU. It's ancient Egyptian. There is a reason why the Egyptians lived to be about 300 years old, and it's because they did breathwork and meditation a lot, all throughout the day. It's part of their practices, and you know, now that science has proven that meditation and breathwork actually makes you healthier and makes you live longer, healthier, and gives you a stronger immune system. There's so many amazing benefits to this, but for one, I just like to do it. It calms my mind. It's peaceful. And I have also noticed a more youthful look to my face. In fact, actually, my family's like, oh, it seems like you haven't even aged, which I don't know about that. But I have noticed that it has made me younger, looking anyway. I definitely act pretty young, but that's a whole nother story. So we're going to go into this practice now. So before I begin any practice, I like to set an intention, because intention is everything, right? And I would like for you to just take a moment, put your hands on your heart, go ahead and deepen your breath, breathing from your belly. And I want you to set that intention, breathing into your heart. And I want you to presence yourself with gratitude as if you already have it. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Breathing that gratitude energy in. Breathing out anything that doesn't serve you. Shaking it out if you have to. Get that out. Breathing in again. And one last one. Shaking it out. So now that you have your intention, I want you to find a comfortable place to sit, where you can sit with your spine completely straight, where your vertebrae are stacked directly up on top of each other. And we are going to close our eyes. So I'm going to explain the breath first. I'll walk you through it, and then I am going to do it with you. So the very beginning, we're going to take a deep breath in. We're going to blow all the air out. And on our inhale, we're going to squeeze our lower dantian. That's every muscle below your belly button. Squeezing it as you're inhaling the energy up. Squeezing, squeezing, squeezing is when you feel like the energy is up to here. Squeeze your stomach and push your stomach towards your spine, making that so much pressure is on your spinal fluid. And then when we get to the count of 7, you're going to hold your breath at the top. And we're going to count to 7. So for 7 counts, and then we release for 7 counts. And as we're releasing that energy, you're going to feel it going down your spine. You're going to relax this. You're going to relax the stomach, and then you're going to relax your sex organs. And then at the very bottom, you're going to be perfectly relaxed, and we're going to hold our breath on the out for 7 counts. And then we're going to repeat all over again. Okay. Are you guys ready? Do we have any questions before this? I don't know if there's a way to take questions, but I just want to make sure that if anybody does have a question, that we can answer that.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, you guys can, okay, looks like Stephen has a question. I'm going to bring you up. We do ask that you put on your camera. Go ahead and unmute yourself too, or no, you don't have a question.
Well, actually, I don't have a question. I'm sorry.
Okay, no
I was
problem.
just saying you're doing great. This is really great. Thanks.
Yeah, this is really great. I'm really excited. And my question was, do I have to sit down? Which I just did. So that's good. Any other questions? You can raise your hand, type it in the chat. Again, if you're joining us live on LightNet YouTube or anything like that, lightnet.org/hangout gets you into the back end where you can ask questions and things like that. Okay.
Beautiful. So here we go. All right. So take a deep breath in, blowing out all your air. And we're going to be breathing in through our nose, breathing in, count of 7. 1, 2, squeezing your root lock. 4, 5, 6, squeezing your stomach, putting it all the way in, all the way at the deep of your top of the breath, holding it. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and release. 2, 3, 4, 5. Begin to relax. 6, 7. Totally relax, holding your breath on the outhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Breathing in, squeezing the root lock. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Holding it at the top. 4, 5, 6, 7, and releasing slowly. 2, 3, 4, 5. Begin to relax and hold all your air out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Breathing in, squeezing your root lock. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and release. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and hold all the air out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Breathing in, squeezing your root lock, squeezing your stomach. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and release slowly. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Holding all your air out. And on this next round, if you want to put your tongue on the roof of your mouth, you're more than welcome to. 6, 7, and breathing in slowly, squeezing the root lock. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and hold. 2, squeezing everything. 4, 5, 6, 7, and releasing. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and hold all your air out and relax. 2, 3, presence yourself with gratitude for your thing has already happened. 6, 7, breathing in, squeezing the root lock, putting your tongue on the roof of your mouth. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and hold all your air in. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and release slowly. 2, 3, 4, 5. Begin to relax. 6, 7, and hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Breathing in, squeezing your root lock. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and hold. 2, 3, 4. We're going to count even longer, so keep holding. Presence yourself with gratitude. We're going to hold for as long as we can. Sip in a little bit more air. Maybe even a little bit more air. Holding all your air in, squeezing that root lock, putting your hands on your heart, thinking of your intention, holding it, holding it. And when you think you can't hold it any longer, count to 5 before you let go. Keep holding it. You got this. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let it out with sound. Shaking it out. Shaking it out. And as you build up your practice by doing this, you're going to get used to working your Kegels, working your lower abdomen. And then as you're bringing up your air, you're also squeezing all of your stomach muscles and pushing in as it's coming up to put more pressure on your spinal fluid. And it's interesting, when I first started doing this breath work, this was 6-7 years ago, just this specific breath work, my friends would be like, oh, what's going on? How did you get like an 8-pack? And I was like, I guess it's breath work. I had no idea. I had no idea that breath work would actually give me a 6-pack, because I've been, you know, a cheerleader, a soccer player, and I never had that 6-pack except for now doing breath work. And I'm just like, what? It happens.
Wow, that was really cool. You know, I couldn't even do it. Like my lungs or whatever, I wasn't ready for that. I was like, oh shoot, I'm like letting the air go, or I had to take a breath, but it was cool. And I can tell that it's something I can work on too.
Yeah, you know, and a lot of that is mind stuff. So and that's part of our old archaic part of our mind. If we hold our breath for more than 3 seconds, our ego mind is like, oh, we're gonna die. And really, we're not. You're gonna be fine. You could probably hold your breath for a minute and you don't even realize it. Yeah, Steve, 7?
Yeah, hey. Yeah, the hardest part for me was the breathing in while I was tightening the muscles. I didn't really understand that part of it. And so it kind of gave me a little bit of a stumbling block. I think the last time I might have done it right, but that's where I could use a little more instruction.
Okay, yeah, you know, it's also easier to be able to see. So usually if the camera is, then I can see if it's what's going on with your stomach. But generally when you're breathing in on the inhale, you're squeezing your root lock, and then when you naturally take a breath, you're like, and so you'll fill up your lower belly first and then your upper chest. And as soon as the air gets to the upper chest, that's when you squeeze your stomach in to kind of put pressure there. So you're not necessarily squeezing your stomach until after the air until you've already like filled up your chest. But yes, it is a very unfamiliar feeling. And that is on purpose.
Is the initial impulse the tightening of the muscles or the breathing in? What's the first thing that happens? Or are they simultaneous? They start simultaneously.
Simultaneously, you squeeze your root lock, which is all your sex organs, and you begin the ascent, the inhale. And then once your inhale is almost all the way up to the top, that's when you contract your stomach and push your stomach back to your rib cage or to your spine.
Yeah, so you guys are going to be able to listen to this recording and retry this as well. And then you're going to be showing different other techniques. This was very different than the one we did at your house, for example. So I wanted to follow up with a question about the number 7 and how we get to infinity at the next one. But I also wanted to say, what would you describe the purpose of this practice to be that we just did? Because I'm starting to understand the breath. Like I've been doing jogging in the morning because it's like renewing your entire body, because it is the life force. It's just like, and so it's also exhaling what doesn't need to be there. But what would you say is the reason for this particular, is it manifestation or what is it exactly? Healing?
Can you hear me?
Was that a question to Jesselynn?
I can hear you. Sorry, I was on mute.
Okay, I thought that maybe I would have you guys on my headphones, but for some reason it's not working. Let's see, does that work? Can someone say something?
Can you hear us now?
Nope. Okay, so it's not working. So my headphones are not working. I was going to try and put headphones in, but I guess I can't. So yeah, well, it is to calm your mind. It's to train your brain. It's to train your body. It's for balance. It's for emotional stability. It's to strengthen your immune system. It's another form of meditation. It's to be able to regulate your autonomic nervous system. You can reset your vagus nerve. You can reset anything throughout this. Also, you could strengthen your doing this practice strengthens your Kegels. So, you know, as we get older, that's one thing that tends to be an issue for men and women. So that is really beautiful. And also just to stay fit, stay healthy, keep your mind sharp.
Yeah, that's great. That's so cool. Yeah, it's really a chance for you to check in with your body. And then also, like you said, you know, your body can release chemicals in your brain when you do certain things. But then by forcing your breath and things like that, you can actually direct it to do what you want it to do. And so it's like, you know, the autonomic nervous system, it just runs on automatic, right? You don't have to think like digest my food and do this. But when you use breath, you're actually playing as a partner, as a dance partner with the chemicals in your body. And you're able to say, oh yeah, I'm really stressed out right now. I'm going to do box breathing, 4 in, 4 out, 4, you know, and then all of a sudden your entire chemistry of your body is calm. And you're able to confront the situation. So that's so cool. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us, Jesselynn. So we're going to go into breakout groups right after this question. But the other question I wanted to ask you is, what do your clients normally get stuck with? Like, what are the things that you see over and over again? You're like, wow, this keeps coming up. Like, what is it that we tend to hit our head on as we're marching forward?
Yeah, I would say the number one issue with most of the people that come to me, that they have been making a series of decision after decision after decision based on fear, based on lack, based on limitation, because they're not truly understanding the real nature of reality and also the real nature of what's true and energy. Ultimately, I would say the majority of people, if they can't see it, they can't believe it. But our eyes only see 0.1% of the light spectrum that's available to us. So those of you who are like, oh, I only believe it when I see it, well, you can't really see anything because their eyes are kind of dumb. Not that they're dumb, but they can't really see much. So I work with energy, work with frequencies. And so the thing that stops people the most is that they don't even realize why or how they've been stopped, because they're in their, you could call it programming, or the way they grew up, or in their lack limitation belief systems. So that's how most people make their decisions, are based upon what they are not going to have or what they don't want to have, instead of what they would like to have and what they're moving towards.
Yeah, that's really great. I love that you can walk us out of that, because yeah, it becomes this like vicious circle. You're like, wait a minute, why does this keep coming back? Or why doesn't this unlock for me? So that's really cool that you're able to do that. So right now I'm going to put everybody that wants to go into breakout groups. This is your chance to connect with people. You're going to be in there for 20 minutes with 3 to 4 people. So you can divide the 20 minutes by the number of people you have. I'll be moving people around for the first moment, so don't start quite yet. And during your time, it's you have the floor. And you can talk about any support that you need. You can talk about experience that you're having. You can talk about what lack and limitation that you have in your life that you want to chuck out the window. I mean, look, you can chuck it out my space window as we trailblaze into the future. Now that I'm talking about the background, I will mention, so Contact 100 is launching tomorrow. It's our biggest experiment yet. We've been teaching people experienced contact with people in small groups of 8 to 12, using remote viewing and Jesselynn's team and whatever. But now we decided, let's all do it 100 people at once. And this is going to be powerful, because we know when we set an intention that it's more likely to happen, especially when you're in a group of people that are supportive and loving, and you just feel safe and yummy and everything's nice. We really can expand in that way. We're going to be calling in crafts. We're going to be clearing out anything, beliefs, whatever, all that stuff. And Altair is going to be leading. So We have 6 more spots. We just got another registration right now. Contact100.org is where you can go. You can bring a friend, share the cost, share the love. So yeah, I'll just say that. Now I'm going to go ahead and put you into groups. And now I want to talk to you about ancient Egypt, you know, and why you're so excited about that. You have a dog that's in that lineage too. When you go into your house, you see all that stuff. And then we're going to check out some light language. So again, I'll start the breakout groups. You don't have to join the breakout groups if you want to stay, but you will have the recording. So you can go ahead and feel free to do that. So yes, Egypt. So Jesselynn, don't join the breakout groups, please. I'll start them now. And then you can just answer the question of why are you so interested in Egypt and what has it meant to you and why are you fascinated by it?
Fabulous.
Well, now I want to do both.
Right?
We'll do the breakout groups because you'll have the archives. You can go to ourlightnet.com on YouTube and everything else. So. Okay, I'm going to bring back Jesselynn. Looks like she joined a breakout group. So here we go. Hey, Jesselynn. Okay, you're back. Okay, yeah, I can't hear you. Can you get off mute real quick?
Yeah, it joined me and I didn't
even. Sorry about that. Okay, go ahead. Let us know about what you love about Egypt.
Yeah, wow. Egypt, my goodness. It has been something that has been in my consciousness probably since before I was born. When I was younger, I was drawing the pyramids, but I didn't know that they were the pyramids until I got older and I looked back at my drawings. I was like, wow, I've been drawing those for a long time. And then when I had the opportunity to work with this really beautiful, powerful woman healer in the Amazon, our studies would all culminate in Egypt once we were done with all of our training. And I ended up taking several other courses of training in that same time because I wanted to be able to have the full plethora, the mind, body, spirit aspects of it. And just even being in Egypt, I would say the air is thick. You can feel it in the air. And in doing all my research of, ancient civilizations and technologies and lifespans and things like that, the Egyptian culture was one of the cultures that's one of the most advanced that we know of today. And as you really start getting down and looking through, seeing how long people lived, and they had access to all of the frequency technology. They also meditated. They also did breath work. And looking at several of, I have one here, a beautiful papyrus from Egypt in front of me, which you can't see, but I know that on several of the things that were etched in the rocks and the hieroglyphics, they show the rays of the sun. And as their rays are coming out, they're coming to the person's nose and the person's mouth. Like, to me, that says that they were doing breath work, that they were doing prana work. They were breathing in the prana from the air through their nose and through their mouth, and they were also absorbing the sun's rays. So they took things that now we're just now discovering how simple and how powerful something very simple can be, like the sun, right? And the breath, every time that we breathe out, we're breathing out toxins. So every time we breathe, we are getting healthier. So imagine when you put that with intention and you put that with specific practices, because they all activate different parts of your body. So that's another thing too, is that there's a different breath work to activate all different parts of your body. So depending on what's going on with you, we could do a completely different breath work based for you. And that's what I like about the Egyptian stuff, is that it is catered to each specific person, because everybody is so unique, so individual, and yet we're all the same, right? But at the same time, you can really mold a person's coaching and the program specifically for them. And I owe that to Egypt, to my studies of the Egyptian technologies.
Wow, that's so cool. Yeah, I mean, I remember just being so fascinated by all that they have to teach us, and how, thank goodness, that some of this stuff remains. And a lot of people are making kind of pilgrimage to Egypt to really feel the energy there. So it's so fascinating that the ancient is also the modern, you know what I mean? So I want to spend a little bit of time talking about light language, because I had such a profound experience in that class, because it like cut through my analytical overthinking, masculine mind that like figured, you know what I mean? It was just like, it like sliced through that, even more powerful than music. And I was getting goosebumps. I was like tearing up. I mean, it was so interesting.
It is like music, ultimately, if you think about it. It is frequencies. And when they talk about at the beginning, there was the sound. So the sound is what's coming out of our mouth. And so that's what light language is it is these specific sounds and the vowels and the consonants. And so different combinations of those together create different movement. And there's this thing called biogeometry, which this Egyptian man discovered, and he studied that each shape has a movement and and each sound has a movement. And so when you kind of put that together with light language, you can see how light language could be completely catered for the 1,000 people that are watching them, and each message could be specifically for each one of those thousands of people, because you're working with vowels and consonants or whatever is coming through. And then ultimately whatever else that person is channeling. So if they have a star family that they're channeling, or if they're just channeling from who knows where, like I don't know where my light language comes from. Do you know where yours comes from, Zenka?
Well, no. And it's so funny because you answered my question. I was like, oh, I'm going to ask her where hers comes from. So that's cool. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's our higher selves. And that's something that you're really an expert in, is really tapping into that. So, yeah, we're either open vessels, like where we're saying, I will be your channel to the being or collective that you're passing for, or, it's our higher selves, which, yeah, I mean, what even is our higher self?
Exactly. And if we're really getting down to the nitty gritty, that we're all one ultimately, and we basically created ourselves so that we could look at each other and see how beautiful that each of us are. So yeah, I don't know where it comes from. I also don't know where my channelings come from, or when I'm doing my readings. I do know that my clients' higher self, angels and guides, they come to me and they share with me specific things that maybe that they've been trying to communicate to that person, but they're not really listening. So then I get to be the messenger.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I was gonna say, so maybe you and I, when we do this, we're channeling our higher selves, our guides, and our angels, like just like you're helping translate for your clients.
Yeah.
What do you do in those sessions? Do you do cards, or do you just talk to them? Like, do you pass? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on how much time I have with my client. But I use whatever and anything and everything that would be helpful. So usually the beginning part, I have to get in alignment and get into the same frequency as their higher self, their angels and their guides, so that I can actually hear what's going on. Hear, see, feel, that type of thing. It's not that I actually hear it. It's just that, anyway, it gets like downloaded to me. And once that happens, then I just usually rattle off a bunch of stuff, and then I can go back and explain what it is, because I get a lot of things in images and feelings and concepts. And so then I have to translate, and depending on the person's guides or angels or something, that like there's a lot of comedy and humor that guides have that a lot of people don't even recognize that their own guides are hilarious, and it's because they're just not listening to them nearly enough. But I get to experience that, which is really cool. But I use cards. I use a crystal bowl, or not a crystal bowl, crystal ball. I can use a pendulum. That's not necessarily something that I would use in a reading. That's usually something I would use for more my own type of thing. But I do read tea leaves and coffee grinds. My grandmother used to throw bones. Talk about vulgar. And I used to be a vegan for 15 years, and I was like, well, I don't know if I'll ever throw bones, but I ended up getting her bones. So I actually haven't thrown them because I'm terrified that they're gonna like shatter or something. But she was able to take a person in front of her and get all of their things, and then put the intention into the bones, throw them, and be able to explain what's going on through the bones. And I can do that with tea leaves and coffee grounds, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, so I was so we're in sync, because I was just going to ask you about the tea leaves. So when you put yourself into that, okay, I'm listening, what does this person need to hear? And I love that it's humor, because yeah, like the smarter people, like the guides and angels are smarter, so of course they're going to use humor. So when you see a tea leaf configuration, is it like, oh, I know if they all go to the right, then this is what the message is? Or is it just you're in a trance with the information? Or is it like always when they do this, it could mean that they're hiding this? Or is it, what is that? How does it work?
So I'm sure that some people have that down. I mean down as in, some people are like, oh, if it all goes towards the thumb, then that means this. I don't have that. What comes through for me is so another little side note is that plants and animals talk to me. So I have always known from a very young age, I would go in to, say, the dentist, and I'd be like, oh, your plant needs water. And they'd be like, oh, how did you know? And I didn't say, because they told me that they wanted water. But plants and animals talk to me. And so the tea leaves, they actually just appear and they show me different images that relate to the person, or what it is that they need to have in order to have a clearing, or in order to see something that they haven't already seen before, so that they can have a release, or that they can have freedom open up.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought that, like you said, it starts speaking to you, and then you go, oh, boom, 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 boom. That's so cool. So I'm going to share the links, by the way, in the chat here. And also for you guys just listening here, she has a Calendly link that's actually in the show notes of this video. So you can just go and check that out. So what, can we do some light language so people can feel that coming through? Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
That's so cool. Okay, yeah. So feel free to take some time to get into it, and let us know if there's any pre-explanation or anything, or you just want to go into it.
Okay, so I did get that. Well, my question was, what should this be about? And the answer that I received was that there are many people who are on this show or call or whatever else they're watching this, and even like postscript, as in like after this is already finished live, that would like to have a clearing with heaviness on their heart, that's coming maybe in the form of duty, obligation, but also fear of not being seen, and then also fear of being rejected. So that's what came through. So I believe that this is going to be a download related to that. So unless there's something else that someone else wants to add, I'm happy to include that as well, but I'm just going to be an open channel for whatever wants to come through. Tialakatesete shumkukakapa, kenelapite salarakan takelekeshete kalaputaka santa kanjunta shatake, la patakete setapa kunta tatala. Huakeleshete ki sandapu. Gaila setepi inka tatalusha kaka, kenta dalapi kantosuta keteshete. Kaya katatia la potokura, kada la tisha, hankato poshut, a leketesita ta katisite panko kuta. That ser la ketikunga shateletis, kalapata se makuta. Good pakatesi, la kenesia la koposhoka, hai katatesi, ankete peshe tu kampatashe. What the kitty site ka? Kire sete cante shate puta. Maka ka kite. Wow. Okay, my hands are like buzzing. Wow.
That was so cool. And what an interesting like message that wanted to come through. What would you say is the alchemical thought pattern or energy to fear of rejection?
Let me answer that in a moment. So it's interesting because I'm starting to like piece together what some of the things that were that was coming through, and it feels like it's kind of like flooding in almost. It was talking about or what my understanding is of the explanation of some of what I was saying was that your hands create things, and I think more of like, yes, they create things, but it's more of like, what are your hands reaching for, right? So it's like, if you know that you're supposed to be working out, is your hand grabbing your keys to go to the gym to work out or whatever? And so the feeling that I got was like being able to align your thoughts, your words, and your deeds all together in the one place. Because a lot of people are like, oh, I say I'm going to do this thing, but then their actions aren't doing that. And so they're talking about, what are you putting in your hands? What are you actually feeding yourself? Right. So it's like, and the energetics of that was like, just be looking at what you're doing with your hands. What are you doing with your hands? What's the energy that you're putting there? Are you giving stuff away? Are you eating a bunch of sugar? Or are you, I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, because there is that weird coherence where, and it's like a fight between your conscious and your subconscious too. So it's like there's this disconnect, and that's what Captain Adham talks about in his breakthrough coaching. So let's see. So I have, my thoughts, my actions, and my feelings.
Your deeds. Like your thoughts, your actions, and your deeds, like, but that they all need to be in alignment.
Yeah. So I wonder how we notice the lack of integrity or coherence, like, and how we would lovingly coax ourselves into that. Like, you say you want to be healthy, but you don't put the keys in to go to the, or what is that? Like, how do you get how do you soothe yourself into being in coherence with your intentions, I guess?
So one of the ways in which, well, first you have to raise your awareness, and ultimately that is checking in with your angels and your guides, or daily meditation, so that you can actually understand and be able to watch yourself. Most people think that all of their thoughts are them, and they're not. So that is another thing. It's like most of us are, I mean, we've been lied to for a long time. So it's really challenging to be able to bring ourselves into coherence. But ultimately, the number one indicator, if you are not in coherence, are you happy? If you're not happy, that's probably because there's one area of your life that you're not doing or having or being the thing that you want the most. So that means that there's something out of alignment with either your thoughts, your actions, your deeds.
That makes sense. So you kind of always check in with the results you're getting. So what is your life getting? And then also, yeah, like, you know, someone was saying, Bashar said the other day, or like he always says, follow your bliss, follow your bliss, follow your bliss. And that really is like the indicator, is like, you know, I mean, things that are worth it take some effort. So it's not just like everything's like, oh yeah, whatever, but it's also like really what ultimately feels good to you. And sometimes the things that are challenged, like, I mean, me doing sprint training in the morning, like, yeah, it's sometimes really hard to do it. Like, I'm like, oh my God, I just want to get in the bath, you know, instead. But I was noticing today, I was like, I feel so much better when I do this. Like, it's literally lasts for 2 hours, the high that I'm on of just like getting that breath work. And I was like, this is my breath work, you know, because I'm just like up the hill, like, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
your body's like, yeah, we like this, even though it's hard.
Yeah, and even when you're doing it, like maybe you don't want to do it, like you actually feel like, I really don't want to do it. But the moment that your actions are in alignment with the things that you say you want to do, you do feel better. That's just the way it works. And so you can always gauge on how you feel, on how you're being, and how you can be even more of how you want to feel.
Yeah, totally. What was it like? Now we're going to be bringing people back from the Hangouts pretty soon, and then we're going to open it up to you guys for questions. So get your questions ready. So I want to ask you, what was it like to write a book? Like, what was that process like?
Wow, I would say that writing a book was one of the hardest things that I've ever done in my entire life. And it's interesting that my book was, or is, based on making things very non-resistance, right? And I had to use every single tool in my book in order to get my book written. And that's really how much resistance I was coming up against with myself and my beliefs, and who would listen to me, and what good is this going to do for the world, and who reads anyway, which turns out that most people don't read, but that's okay. I'm going to have my audiobook out very soon. So hopefully by the end of this year, I'll be able to, for those of you who don't like to read, I'll be able to have that. So yeah, it was very challenging. I mean, you go through all of your stuff, anything big that you want to do in your life, you can't do it alone. And it's always wise and helpful to ask for help if you can. And even though I didn't necessarily ask for help, I literally used every tool in my book, and that is no joke. I literally did.
Yeah, that's so cool. That's so cool. What do you want to share one of them? Like, what was one? Because I know what you mean. Like, when you're up against your fear, we used to call it backdoors. I did this program in LA, MIT, and MITT, and it was like the backdoors was like when you're scared and you're trying to do something bigger than you've ever done or whatever, you go out the back door. You literally are like, run the other direction. Like, okay. And your brain does all this fancy stuff like, oh, justify this, that, whatever, victim, justify all of it. And you just sneak out the back door. And so when you're like, no, I'm going through the door, like you said, all of your stuff comes out. The way you do everything, you know what I mean? The way you do something is the way you do everything. So it's breaking that down and be like, wait a minute, is this actually serving me or not? Like, so yeah, like what's one of those tools that you go, oh yeah, this was, and congratulations for doing the book. So cool. I'm so glad it's out there.
Thank you. Yeah, it's like, wow, it's done. I just asked what would be the most helpful thing to share, because they were all very beneficial for me. And that is because I did have to use them all. And at a certain point, it took me 6 years to actually get this book out, even though it was over the course of my entire life that this book was being written. But I flipped it open to, because my book is also written in such a way that you can ask, oh, I have this issue with so-and-so at work, what would be helpful? Or what do I need to know? And you can flip through the book and just be like, boom, and then read whatever is there. And so this one that I picked was, most of us, because we're all good people for the most part. And at least we all think we're good people. Even serial killers probably think that they're good people. So, that being said, it's really easy for us to try and look good for somebody else instead of ourselves. So we oftentimes, I would say the majority of people have a harder time fulfilling on their obligations if they're the only ones that know about their obligations. Like, oh, I'm going to eat right. Well, no one's here. I'll eat right tomorrow. But if you are having a meal with your friend and your friend knows your plan, you're not going to look bad in front of your friend. So I call this accountability buddy. And so that's really getting yourself an accountability buddy, because you could turn yourself down and ignore yourself your whole life, because probably you were also ignored as a child. So that's now how you treat yourself, is you ignore yourself. You don't treat yourself good because you were treated that way. And even though you hated being treated that way, then you learned how to do that to yourself. So then you do it to yourself. So if you have accountability buddy, and chances are there's someone else in your life that also wants to have the same outcome or have the same goal that you have. So for instance, if you want to work out every day and you just want to do something, there's someone in your neighborhood, and I would even do this with this cute little old lady that used to live in my neighborhood because I couldn't seem to work out on my own. So then I basically started walking around the block, and I was like talking to different neighbors. I'm like, oh, do you want to get some more exercise too? And she was like, yeah. I was like, well, you want to do this every day around sunset? Yeah. So from that point on, I basically was working out every single day, because now and we kept collecting more people. So then it became like this neighborhood walk, which was really fun. So then even after I moved away from that neighborhood, they still call me and say, we still do it. We miss you. We missed our walks. And it was because you have an accountability buddy. And so even if they can't be there with you in person, you can still have someone be on the phone. And if you're having an accountability buddy to meditate with, you can just be on the phone. You'd be like, okay, you ready to meditate? Okay, cool. Let's do this. Set your timer, and the phone can just be silent, but you guys can still be doing it together. The other one that I flipped open to was a cure for depression. So I was really, really depressed growing up. I had a lot of trauma and abuse and poverty and things like that. And so I was very depressed growing up. And what I started recognizing is that me being depressed, and when I found others who were depressed, I found a common ground that all we did was really think about ourselves. And I was like, no wonder why our lives are depressing, because all we're doing is thinking about ourselves. So I had this idea just come to me, and I was like, wait a minute, well, how am I going to not think about all this stuff that I'm super depressed about? So then I started thinking about the people in my life that I love and that are close to me, and also people who were inspirational. So then what I started doing is every day until I basically got out of my depression, I would call up a new person every single day. Sometimes it would be 3 people. If I was going through a really, really hard time that day, it would be 5 people that I would call. So I would, depending on the depth of my depression, I would have more people to call to tell them how much I love them and how much they meant to me and how they've inspired me and what I've learned from them. I'd have more people to do that with if I was way more depressed that day. If I wasn't as depressed that day, I would maybe do 1. But I did it until my depression went away. And then I realized the act of me not thinking about myself changed my whole outlook on life, because then I was putting my view out and I was actually sharing what I'm grateful for, sharing what I'm inspired by. And then the energetics and the frequency of when you appreciate someone, appreciation releases dopamine. So you actually can't be depressed if you're in a constant state of gratitude and appreciation, because your brain releases dopamine with appreciation. So as a kid, I learned how to cure my own depression. So I thought that was worth sharing, because I'm sure there's a lot of crazy stuff going on right now.
So cool. I really love how both of well, first of all, you say that no one reads anymore, but that's not true. And especially a book where you can just go bam, and then what's the tool there? Like, that is so cool. And I love that the 2 tools that you just went bam open to was connection, right? These were connecting, because once we graduate from like our inner world and our personal life being great, then we get the chaos of connecting with other people. And it can actually be grounding and awesome and supportive. You know what I mean? And I also like always felt in my life that no one tells each other what they love about each other enough, because we don't write letters anymore. And so that phone call, you're like, you super inspire me, and I love you because of this. Like, that is also like, yeah, you're literally boomeranging everything, because they're probably wanting to hear that too. You know what I mean? So that's really amazing hack. So this is, get your questions ready. We're about to go into question and answer. I want to show your book here. So this is The Path of Least Resistance. You can get it at Balboa Press. You can also get it on Amazon, but it's good to support Balboa for publishing her work, and $11 for the digital version, etc. So yeah, so that's really great. And you can also follow Jesselynn under Oracle Jesselynn on TikTok and Instagram. She's got a lot of cool things. So we'll go over that a little bit more a little bit later. Welcome back for those who connected with people. I love seeing in the chat right now, like, here's my email, here's the stuff. So we definitely want you guys to exchange information. You can do that via direct message or just type it in. So right now we're going to have question and answer from you guys. So this is a chance for you to ask Jesselynn. She's an intuitive. She does readings for people. Maybe we bring out the cards. I don't even know. Maybe you ask her about anything that you've heard. And also remember, you can get the light language she just did by going to one of the YouTubes, ourlightnet.org, Portal to Ascension, and also New Realities. And we request that you hit like and subscribe on whatever channel you're on, because it's voting for this kind of content. So the way that you would raise your hand is to go into the reactions, and there's a little like hand raising situation. I can also try to find you guys if you're raising your hand too. So I will pull you down, and we request that you know that you are live on broadcast. So do we have any questions out there? Okay, I'm going to ask people that are not doing questions to mute. Lori, I'm going to mute you real quick. I was kind of wondering, so you did this intuitive thing with us that came through. Do you want to get cards or anything and do a reading for the audience? Okay, cool. Okay, good. We love, this practical approach at LightNet. We're all about doing these experiences so you guys can have them. I also want to note that I love that in your book cover, everything is symmetrical. I'm really into symmetry because I think that's where we're going. Oh, and yeah, tell us about your dog. And your painting is also symmetrical. Tell us about your
have to say that that Anubis wanted to say hi. He's my new spirit animal. He's a little nugget, but he keeps nudging my back, and I'm like, okay, I think he wants to come say hi, and now he's pretending like he's shy. Are you pretending like you're shy? He's a little baby guy. I love how he like disappears. Now he's gone, and now he's here. Now he's gone. Now he's here.
That's so cool. Yeah, Nubis is so amazing. So here, Nikki's saying that he wants a reading. So maybe it's good because remember when we watch, we noticed with Susan's healings, it's like every single healing to me was relevant. I was like, oh wow. So I'm sure that Nick's
what's your question?
Gonna be relevant.
Give me a question, Nikki. Either come off mute or type it in the box.
My question is, how can I connect with my soul, my higher self, my lower self, and maybe what inhibits me in doing it on a better way?
So the first thing that's coming through is that, first of all, you're a very intelligent man. And so once you understand how something works, it's pretty easy for you to just do it. And so the thing that came through was that there is a disconnect with your belief around energy and what is the actual reality of how energy works. So everything is consciousness. And so the more energy that you spend towards something that you're wanting to bring in, so say you want to develop a personal relationship with your guides, your angels, your higher self, that would require you to have some sort of tracking system for you to understand what is, so that way you'd be able to discern what is coming from your head and then what is coming from your heart or what's coming from outside guidance. And so journaling is a really great tracking system to be able to do that. So also you're getting messages. Yeah, confirmation. So you're also getting messages in your dream time on things to guide you, but you're also not tracking that either. So it's, if you're not listening, then you're not going to get the messages. And so really this is about you strengthening your listening. And so also quieting your mind down. I would say that you're also a little too smart for your own good. So your mind is your mind is your strong suit. So you're really in your mind. And so unless you have like a daily practice where you're calming your mind. So if you were to do that little breathwork practice that I showed you today for, start off 5 minutes a day, then go to 10 minutes a day, then goes to 20 minutes a day, right? Once you start doing that, you're actually putting your consciousness, your energy, your thoughts, actions and deeds all towards this thing that you want to do. So if you want to connect with your higher self, you need to make time to do that. You need to actually plan it in your schedule. And if you don't have a place in your house where you can be uninterrupted, and if you don't have a place in your house that's safe or that is sacred, then you're probably not going to sit down and meditate. And if you don't sit down to meditate, or if you don't sit down and quiet your mind to actually create the space for your higher self to come in, higher self's not coming in. That's just all there is. So it's putting it into practice.
Oh, thank you very much. Just feedback. You are 200% right. And I have a space, and each morning I'm doing a meditation from 10 to 30 minutes. And part of this meditation is breathing.
Good. Yes. And so the other thing that just came through too, it might be helpful for you can write down any questions that you might have for your higher self before you sit down to meditate and do your breath work. And then allow those answers to come through, because my feeling is that your whole team is communicating to you all the time. So that's what I'm getting. And so it's really about having you understand what that looks like and how it comes through. So for instance, all of our 5 senses that we have on the outside, we also have on the inside. Those are our invisible 5 senses. And people call it extra sensory perception, but it's not extra. It's what we always used to have, but we've been dumbed down. And so understanding how you respond to things, and a lot of times you'll be able to tell if you're more clairaudient or clairsentient or, you know, what all the clairs by things that you say. So sometimes someone will say something and they'll explain it, and you'll be like, oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Even though they were just speaking, that probably means that you're clairvoyant, that you have a clairvoyant. Some people are like, oh yeah, I hear you. So depending on, you know, it's about listening to what you're saying, start watching and observing yourself, because not all your thoughts are yourself, Nikki, but I am going to pick a card for you. Yes. So this is the serpent, which I'll put it in front of me so you can see it. So this is the serpent, right? So yes. This is about the Kundalini awakening. So you continue doing your practices, you're going to have a Kundalini awakening, because that's what happens. A plus B equals C. So by continuing to do this practice, it's not like there's a guaranteed time. Like if you do this 10 times, then it happens on the 11th. That's not how it works. But if you're doing your daily bliss discipline practices, you are going to receive this information, and also trust and understand that you won't receive anything that is not safe enough for you to deal with at that time. So if you're not getting more information, that might be because maybe you're not ready yet.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay,
thank you.
So we have Stone here coming up. Stone is also one of our guides at LightNet. She's amazing. So welcome, Stone. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, and it's awesome to be here. Thank you, Zinka. And Jesselynn, I'd like to know, you take this practice from an Egyptian practice? From your Egyptian.
Which practice are you speaking of? Because
the breathing techniques that we did earlier on.
That one specific breathing technique happens to be Egyptian, yes. But yes.
Can you tell us what other interactions, what other beings, whatever? Because I work on frequencies, signature frequencies. That's how I identified the different beings that come in. It's all about frequency at the end of the day for me. So when you're bringing in this information from this frequency level, what other beings were you interacting, or are you interacting with in get this knowledge, sharing this knowledge?
That's a really good question. I can't really give you an answer to that, because I haven't, as far as I know, I haven't experienced any specific beings per se, except for like different deceased relatives of my clients and maybe like shadow beings, but I don't necessarily get downloads from them in this sort of way. I am claircognizant and clairsentient, and when I was in the temples, I was downloaded with a series of ways of a healing lineage that I wasn't taught by anybody else. I just all of a sudden had this information, and I started doing it on people, and it worked. And I was like, whoa. And this came from when I was in the Hathor temple.
Yeah. when you're breathing in, when you're bringing in that breath and you're bringing it up through the different levels, are you sending in that cleansing breath to each of those different locations of our chakras, which I class as different dimensions,
Totally.
Yeah.
I wasn't specifically doing it at that moment because there are many levels to this breath work. So there's different levels on, you can go through your chakras, you can specifically stop at each one and take a second to so this breath work you can build upon. I gave you guys the very bare minimum, even though normally I wouldn't have mentioned putting the tongue on the roof of the mouth. And a lot of times when I'm just teaching this breath work, I don't even teach the squeezing the root lock or anything like that. So I tried to make it be a balance between people who are experienced with breath work and people who aren't. But from this just the 7 count, you can go through it a multitude of ways, because you can also shoot the energy up out of your crown, and you can do different things with that. And you can also shoot the energy out your tailbone and do different things with that too. But so I don't know, did that answer your question?
That was beautiful, Hattie. That was beautiful. And if we've got time, I would love a reading. So that was awesome. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Stone. And you are awesome. You are amazing. And I love that you're doing a class. And if anybody hasn't checked her out yet, and if you guys are in season 3, go watch Stone. It's amazing. She's amazing. Not it, but the universe is amazing.
Yeah, so we've got 2 more people and about 15 more minutes. So maybe you just do a card for Stone before we move on to Nazilla is going to be next, and then Jonathan. And I think that'll be about the time we have here.
Cool. That's funny. So this is the card I picked for you, Stone, which I associate you with blue also. You can't really see it. It says communication, but this is really what kind of came through is, everything boils down to frequency when you come down to it, ultimately everything. And what came through was that it's easy for you to see things outside of yourself. And what came through was being gentler and kinder to yourself, and giving yourself time to rest, and also demanding that and having clear communication and clear boundaries, because you also have a really big heart, so you tend to be an overgiver. And so also like bringing back that energy to yourself, because then you can do more and be more, right? It's like you kind of have to put on your own gas mask first before you can help others.
That's absolutely beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. That's totally me. But there's no slowing down for me, so I don't get the option for rest. That's not in my dictionary. Thank you. Perfect. Let's move on.
Yeah, that's cool. That's so cool. But yeah, when you're giving, the thought that was coming to me is like, yeah, like if I rest a little bit more, the frequency will carry more, because it'll come not from a depleted source.
100%.
Yeah. So
exactly.
Yeah. Nazilla, you are next, and then Jonathan. So thank you for joining us. Welcome.
Hello, and thank you. I would love to have a card reading, and I apologize in advance. I delayed my call 30 minutes to stay here. So if the call comes and I have to pop out, I apologize, but I'm here now.
Beautiful, Nazilla. What is your question?
My question, gosh, I have a lot of questions and I'm thinking of the time. Can I have a card reading for my son?
Sure.
And one for myself if there's time.
Interesting. Let me just pick the one for you too. All right, so what first came through about your son is that there are karmic contracts and there are agreements that we make before we come into this life. And one of the hardest things that we can do is sit there and watch someone that we love make mistakes. And that is also really easy to come, like this judgment, because of course you want the best for your son, of course. And yet also we have to understand that everybody has to make their own mistakes so that they can learn their own lessons. And what it was feeling like for me, that sometimes when we as a parent keep telling our son or our daughter to do these things, it makes them avoid it even more. And it's almost like if you could just be there to support. And I know it's hard because then you might have to pick up the pieces or whatnot. But then the card that I picked was Spirit of Fire, which is, he is a firecracker. He is a firecracker, and he might need to learn lessons the hard way. And I know that's challenging, and I know it rips your heart out because you're like, if you would just do this one thing. But ultimately, he has to decide. He has to decide, and there are certain karmic things that need to play out in his life so that he can be done with it. And so it might seem like he's really messing up, but at the same time, it's like once you get rid of some of these karmic contracts, then you're kind of done with it, and then you can move forward, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then also this and also the Spirit of Fire is really about, not feeding the fire. And the other word that came through was judgment. Like, let go of your judgment for him and see him as a sovereign being, that he is choosing the best for him for what he is dealing with.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Love your dog. Thanks. And
And
he's
then-
an Aries.
Oh, your son?
Yes, firecracker.
Oh, yeah. Well, I find it interesting because the card I picked for you was water. So this is really about you managing your emotions. And you know what water does to fire, right? So you wonder why your son's pushing you away. Yeah, well, this is about managing your emotions so that you can be free and you can still be happy despite no matter what's going on with your son, with anything, that choosing to be happy for yourself, choosing to let your emotions guide you and teach you something instead of put you into a fear. Because when you start worrying about him, you're manifesting that other stuff. Let that go. Let that go. Just trust that whatever is happening is going to be for the highest good for all in the end, and that there's nothing happening to us. It's all happening for us. And so this water is about your emotions and being able to dive within and let them be free, as well as not let them run your life.
So true. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And
Thank you.
Jonathan?
Wow, Jonathan, he's here still. Did you still have a question, Jonathan?
Yeah, so I've been getting a lot of things about just go with the flow. Like, what exactly is the flow state, and like a good way to stay in that state, whatever it may be?
That's a really great question, Jonathan. You could tell that you're extremely intelligent, and that you basically your mind is running everything. So that's good, and it's also confining. So to live in that flow state, so basically do one thing every day that scares the bejeebas out of you. That's a great way to stay in the flow state. Also, creativity. The other thing that I'm getting from you, Jonathan, is did you know that you're a healer? Yeah. You're definitely a healer. And so there's a lot of energy moving through you at any given time. And so it would be helpful to have a practice for you that you can move your body more, because, and also you want to make sure you're drinking more water and making sure that you're drinking the electrolytes and the minerals so that you're able to absorb the water, because you have way more energy moving through you than most people. And that is because you're a healer. You're here to help heal. And so ways to stay in the creative flow state is journaling, writing, painting, anything creative, poetry, but ultimately doing things that scare the bejeebas out of you are great ways to get you out of your head, which then keeps you in your flow state. Also doing what you love to do, because your heart will guide you. The moment you start doing that thing that you love to do, you'll be like, yeah, let's do this even more.
All right. Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Jonathan, for your question. And yeah, thank you so much, Jesselynn, for coming on tonight. I want to share your page really quick here to show people, you know, how to learn more about what you're doing, you guys. So this is the Path of Least Resistance program, and she doesn't open it up to everyone. So there is a application process that you go through where you'll be having a 15-minute session with her. And it starts on 9/11. So you can remember that, but get in soon because you'll want to set that up. You can also go to the menu at the top here and get your, you know, if you want to do a private session with her, this is how you do it, right? And she's going to give you a calendar link that's going to let you book when you want to do it based on her availability. So thank you so much for tonight and showing off your you know, your joy and your abilities as a healer and an intuitive. I really never seen you do that work, and I'm blown away. And so I'm glad that you were willing to do that tonight for us live. It was very special.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here. I, you know, didn't always have the best life, and it is my 100% life purpose to use all of my gifts and talents to elevate humanity. And so if you're feeling stuck, I can help you. I would be honored to help you. It would be a sheer joy. And it is my duty, and that's why I'm here. I'm here to help. So if you guys do want to get a reading with me, I am offering anybody who attended this thing, I am giving you guys a coupon code. And I'm going to put that into the chat box right now. And basically, you'll just let me know that you're going to give me this code when you book, and then I'm going to give you 50% off. And that's 50% off for my readings. Wow. So, and I also have, so that would be for my oracle readings that I do. So I do 15-minute, half an hour, 45-minute to an hour. So depending on what you want, you'll see my rates, but with this code, you're going to get half off. And then for my Legacy Life coaching program, for those of you who are feeling like you're stuck and you're working a job, this is what I developed this program for. I developed this program. It's 90 days. It's intensive, but it takes you from living and working your job into living your dreams. And that's where your passion and your purpose coalesce. And so I know how much more of an impact I've made in my life because I've been living my dreams. And now over the years, helping my clients live their dreams, I know that the world is already a better place. And that is heaven on earth. And that's what I'm committed to. So if you guys are interested, I'm happy to do a little session to see a little conversation, 15, 20 minutes, depending on how long it takes, to see if this is right for you, to see if it is something that you want to do. But if you do want to quit your job and live your dreams, I would love to be there to support you 100%.
Oh, I'm getting chills. Powerful. So if you're watching this online, you will see the links below to how to get that, but it's POLRliving.com. So it's Path of Least Resistance, POLRliving.com. And that's so cool. Yeah, you're getting people to live, to want to get up in the morning. And it's just these minor tweaks along the way, and a book full of tools and our intuition. So thank you for being so connected to your higher self, Jesselynn. And
I did just post the phrase, which will give you 50% off of the readings. And you guys have until May for the 50% off. I'm going to give you guys a couple months to redeem it, just because I know things are weird and I don't know, the world is in a wild place, but you can redeem it more than once with up until May. That's when I'm switching my phrase.
Okay, wait, so can I announce this to people listening? Because only people in the chat are hearing this, or is this just for people that are behind the?
Okay.
Yeah,
go ahead.
So
I wanted to make it special for everybody who was actually here today.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so yeah, you guys, again, if you want to get in these hangouts, lightnet.org/hangout. And anyway, it's amazing to work with Jesselynn, as you've seen. I mean, that was 5 minutes every person. Imagine spending half an hour with her, an hour with her, like mind-blowing, right? So we often forget that these spiritual healings let you leap. They let you leap forward in your life, because those things that are sticking, keeping you stuck in your JOB are always there. So yeah,
I did decide to Spirit said yes, but I'm going to give everybody who ends up watching this video a 10% off for all services till the end of May, and then that code is Sunshine Queen. So if you call me up and text me or send me a message or whatever, and you say you have the coupon code Sunshine Queen, you get 10% off, and that would be of all services. So that's anybody who's watching this video. But for those of you who are here live, you guys get the special code. So
thank you so much, Jesselynn. I really appreciate that. That's so cool. And you know, my favorite quote of you tonight was, "Nothing is happening to us, it's happening for us." So just remember that as you step into your week. We look forward tomorrow, exactly 2 hours from now. You and I, Jesselynn, are going to be in Contact 100, stepping into.
I am so excited. I'm picking out my crystals already. I already have my 2 big ones, but I want to get the ones that are all, for the right chakras and whatnot.
Yeah, I ended up getting some little ones for all the chakras, but yeah, I mean, this is going to be quite a powerful group tomorrow. So for those of you that don't know, we are getting together 100 people. We have 6 spots left. I haven't checked it during the broadcast, but maybe 5, right? So 6 people left to create a coherent field led by Altair in Japan. This guy is so high vibe. Every day I thank my lucky stars. I'm like, I'm so glad he's working with us on this. Like, I mean, everyone you'll see him if you search for Stephen Altair anywhere on the internet, you'll find videos of him. It's just, to be in his presence, it's like being hugged, it's like being relaxed. And I think it's the perfect way to step into contact, in a really loving and relaxed environment. And he's absolutely spectacular. So look forward to sharing this 4 days with you guys tonight. So contact100.org. And thanks. Jesselyn's going to be back on the 23rd for members only. It's only $8.88 a month. So get to lightnet.org, join us, get in with Jesselynn on the 23rd of this month. And she's going to do a full-on Breathplay workshop. I don't know what else she's going to do, but it'll be, all these different practices that she's going to walk us through. So look forward to seeing you. Jesselynn, do you have any final closing thoughts before we close? I'll let you have the last word.
I would love to just invite you to take a deep breath into your heart space and ask yourself, what would you like in your life? And write everything down. Focus all your energy on everything that you want. And don't spend a second on any of the fear or any of the lower vibrational stuff. Just keep your eyes forward, keep progressing, keep putting your energy into what your heart wants, and you shall have it. You're so precious, and you're way more powerful than you've been pretending to be. So just absorb that, feel it, honor it, treat your vessel as if it's sacred, just like this life. I love you.
Oh, thanks so much, Jesselynn. We feel your love tonight. And I remember you saying to me one night, you pointed to my third eye and you said something like, you can have anything you want as long as it comes from a pure heart. And I think that that's this profound realization that we're having is figuring out what is our purest heart, what is our desire, what is our joy, where's our bliss, and really knowing that this whole experience is designed to give it to us. If we can get out of our own way, take the path of least resistance, stay open to nature and what's around you. And yeah, so we'll see you on the 23rd, if not sooner. Thanks for being with us tonight. And thanks so much, Jesselynn. Nubis wants to say, all right, you guys, love you.